Hi guys, let's talk about the earthquake in Japan, in the region of Kumamoto. Here we see the earthquake going on. The region withstood the earthquake quite well, but of course there are some exceptions, and one of these exceptions was this shopping mall. The AEON shopping mall building withstood the earthquake quite well, but there was an explosion that followed this earthquake and severely damaged the building. And here we see the explosion after that earthquake. So let's take a look at the video again, where we see pieces flying over the road because the explosion has a huge impact. Let's figure out what caused the explosion. First, we look a bit deeper into the damage of that explosion, because here we see the north side of the shopping mall, which is mostly intact. Here we see a piece of roof where windows were on the sides. So this video, this helicopter view video, was made after the explosion. The windows are all gone. You can see that here. But the most severe damage is on this side. We stop the video here. We see some roof parts. Actually, a piece of parking deck collapsed. This concrete is laying on top of steel beams. And because the steel beams moved during the explosion, pieces of roof deck partially came down. And now we go to the south side of the building, where we can also see a lot more damage. Stop the video here. So here, this was a row of windows. They're all gone. So this is facade. This is a piece of extension of the building. And here is a canopy. And here was a extension with equipment inside. Here's interesting to see, because these columns are part of the main structure. And these in between are actually just to carry the facade. And we see that these smaller columns are not in this part of the facade anymore. They completely disappeared, which means that the impact of the explosion was the highest on this part of the building. We also don't see floors here anymore or ceilings. Everything is completely gone. Around the location of this roof extension on top is where the impact is the highest. Here are where the smaller windows are. It had less impact. Let's take a look at these images to get a better overview of the building. So this is the damaged south side of the building where we just were looking at. So if we take a closer look here at this 3D view from the top, we see a parking area here also on the south side, but by this ramp you can go on top of the building, and there's also places to park the car, which means that there's quite a heavy floor with concrete on top of the roof. So that's also the reason why the explosion didn't go up. We saw the damaged roof parts, but the explosion was not strong enough to remove the deck. So the explosion mostly went in this direction and also in the direction of the shopping mall. We'll see that later. And the impact zone was more or less, so we saw damage here in the equipment area, but we also saw these small windows are completely damaged. But the most impacted area was from here to here. So that is where the facade was completely out, here. So just on the left side of this roof extension. Here's where this roof extension is. So actually it's a bit smaller area. It's from here till here. I found some floor plan, some map of the shopping mall. So all the colored areas are actually shops or restaurants, but the piece of building where the explosion started is not on this map. So let's have a look. So if we take a look at this corner, we also see that here on the map, this corner, and then there's the south entrance next to that. But from the south entrance, we can see here on this Google Maps top view, the building goes straight to the left. Straight, actually. Here's that equipment building, and here is the extension in front of the shopping mall with that canopy. And that's that piece that's not here on the drawing. So that's more or less this piece. So this drawing is only the shops, which means that the area that I just drafted is made for loading trucks or unloading trucks, for technical areas and ways to escape the building. So here on the backside I saw that shops could escape in this direction. So most probably there was also a door in between this smaller room and this bigger area here. I also added this piece of the building here in this software. So this area is where the smaller windows are. If we take a look here at Google Maps, we see this smaller windows here. So this is that small canopy, the extension I didn't add the roof extension. So this was the loading area here beneath, and here's some technical areas, most probably on top. So this piece of building is a building between the loading area, between the parking deck and the actual shops. And if we take a look further at Google Maps, we see that there's a gas tank here just right next to the building, where we can also see pipes going in the ground. Let's zoom a bit what we see here. So this is the gas tank, these are the meters, and to open or close the gas, here the gas goes under the ground, and we see the gas pipe coming out, and on about 10 feet it goes into the building again. If we take a look where the impact is the biggest, we see where the gas tank is, where the gas goes into the building, and we can say most definitely that this shaking can break the gas pipe. We can conclude that there was gas accumulation here on this piece of the building, so that's actually this piece of the building, and exploded in 4 directions actually, because the roof and the floors are the most heavy parts, so the blast goes actually in the weakest directions. The weaker directions were actually more the south side towards the parking deck, so we also saw that. We also saw the windows were broken here, so the impact was also in the direction of the evacuation route and in the direction of the shopping mall, and we can see that here. Police who went into the building after the explosion, and he was wearing a body cam. See that the shops are completely ruined. The south side of the building again. Here we can see the fence. It's a glass fence. It's still intact. It's quite interesting. Here we see a corner shop, but also the shops on this side are completely wasted. We see hanging steel. So if we take a look now in the building, how it was before the explosion, we see nice shops. We see here that glass fence. The windows here are still intact. Here's that corner shop that we saw. So the impact was huge. Let's do a quick sum up tour from the north entrance. On the north side of the building, we see most of the restaurants. So this piece of building was mostly intact. And here we saw the area of the shopping mall that was completely devastated. And here we can see also this area just for the employees. And from this door, you go into this building. And then we end up on the south side of the building, where we see the small window where the impact was a bit less, and then just on the left side of the roof extension, the biggest impact. Here with the loading docks, the canopy, and the gas tank. And here's the gas tank again from the helicopter view after the explosion, also completely damaged. Alright, I hope that it made the situation a bit more clear, and I see you in the next video.